Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and welcome back to another review of the 2001 direct-to-video film, The Order, which I really enjoy this film. I think this is a very underrated Jean-Claude Van Damme film. I was going to say Steven Seagal for some reason. I think that's because there's one scene in this film that was stolen for a Steven Seagal film later on, which I'll mention what that scene is. But this gets a 4.69 to be. I find that a load of horse shit. Find that a load of bullshit. I think that's a bunch of fucking stinky ass piss. I don't understand why it's that low. I don't think it's that bad of a film. It is a direct-to-video film, but I think for a direct-to-video film, it's very fast-paced. It's under 90 minutes. It has a lot of action. You get a car chase through the runway of an airport, and you get a motorcycle chase through the streets. You get lots of fisticuffs and good old-fashioned Van Damme fighting. You even get a small appearance from Charlton Heston for a couple minutes. You have other actors like Ben Cross, Sophia Milos. I think Ben Cross, was he in The Chariots of Fire? Was that Ben Cross? I think he was in another film called The Unholy. I could be wrong. Haven't seen him forever. But Sophia Milos, I'm probably saying her name wrong. I remember him from the TV show CSI Miami. You also have Brian Thompson, who was in that little film right there, Cobra, as the bad guy. He's not in it tons, but when he was there, it was nice to see. He did a hell of a lot better job here than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It's directed by Sheldon Lettich, who also directed Double Impact and Lionheart. Yeah, I guess I enjoy those more than this, but those were theatrical movies. So they had a little bit more to them. While this, again, for a straight-to-video film, this is pretty damn entertaining. Tons of action, and it has Jean-Claude Van Damme. I would say the last time that you would see him act as a human being. And what I mean by that is, maybe that's not the best way to put it. Act like he has a lot of life to him. He's upbeat. He's funny. He smiles. He tries to pick on girls. Like, try to get their phone number. And, hey, you want to go out with me? When someone says, you'll find your ball stuffed in your mouth, he goes, whoa. Like, because after this, he would play either be a zombie and Dead Eyes, or he would be playing very dark, depressed, damaged people. He'd be sad, or he'd be crying, or he'd be frowning, or he'd be, that look of, this is pretty much the last time you got to see Van Damme just be an upbeat, fun guy. Kind of you would see in films like Double Impact and flicks like that. I miss that Van Damme. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of his films after this I enjoy. Wake of Death I enjoy, and Until Death I liked. I reviewed those films. There's films I'm going to review after a few days after May 25th that I enjoy. I don't mind Six Bullets, The Shepherd Border Patrol. I like Replicant, In Hell, JCVD. Again, he does a good job acting-wise, but it's nice to watch this again and go, wow, he had some life behind his eyes. He wasn't a zombie. He wasn't depressed and sad and always like this. He had some energy. That's the best way to put it. He had energy. I understand his roles in Wake of Death. Your wife is murdered. You're not going to be upbeat, full of energy. Or in hell, you're in prison because you killed the motherfucker who killed and murdered your wife. I can understand not being upbeat. I can understand that. When he's done it 10 films, I kind of would like to see him go back to this at least once or twice, So it was nice to see that again. That's a big thing why I enjoy the film, as well as the very plentiful action beats. This is sort of Van Damme's take on an adventure film. Granted, it's not going to have the big scope of an Indiana Jones movie. My friend Effrey mentioned a kind of interesting thing, and I kind of thought of it before, but not until he said it. I'm like, that does really make sense. And that's, at times, kind of a Jackie Chan, because he had Armor of God and Operation Condor, and granted, those have maybe bigger budgets, but they were supposed to be theatrical films as well, especially, hell, they were in theatrical, at least Operation Condor here in the U.S., and especially in their homeland. And I really enjoy Operation Condor. That's actually one of my favorite Jackie Chan films. But it's Van Damme's sort of take, except in a more low-budget film, of an adventure movie, because he's trying to find his father who's been taken, and it deals with this scroll that this mysterious set or order are trying to find, and Van Damme has to keep the scroll away from them, as well as trying to look for his father, and he goes over to Jerusalem to find him. There's his female cop, Sophia Milos, or Milos, however you say her last name, who ultimately helps him out. Charlton Heston is in there for 5 minutes because he was a friend of Van Damme's father. Again, under 90 minutes, very fast paced, never got bored, good fisticuffs, some nice physical. Nothing. I mean, you're not going to have a fight that's as long as the final fight in Lionheart, but I still thought some pretty good choreography, and you get a lot of Van Damme kicking. You get Van Damme 360 helicopter kick. You get, again, this is the last. You just say the last old school Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It really is. Granted, it was a direct-to-video film, but this is the last old-school Jean-Claude Van Damme film. And that's why I'm defending it, because it doesn't deserve a 4.6. This is better than any Steven Seagal film in the past 10 years. Hell, this is better than any Seagal film in the past 15 years. Because Van Damme's still in good shape. He's doing some really good kicks. Like, he does this one kick, which I've never seen him do before or since, but it's his face, you can tell. He does this kick where a guy's here, and he jumps and kicks both of them at the same time. Like, yeah. I don't know. So imagine two guys, this is 2 DVDs I have. Imagine two guys, and Van Damme's here, and he jumps, and he kicks both of them at the same time. Jumps, and yeah! I thought, wow, that's cool. I'd never seen Van Damme do that before. That was really cool. And I will admit, it starts off a little bit weird, because it starts off with how the scroll came to be in the first place. The scroll that's going to come into play for the story when it's set in modern times. Because it takes a little bit in the medieval times, which was interesting because you got this, I guess this was Jean-Claude Van Damme could play another role as this knight who he didn't like the wars. It's sort of around the time of the Crusades. So he goes into this cave to create a new order, writes these scrolls for, this new order, and he gets followers and more followers, and then when he's old, these people come and kill him. He dies a martyr's death, but the last of his writings are lost until modern time. And before we get into that, we're introduced to Jean-Claude Van Damme's actual character, named Rudy. And he's a thief. He's sliding from A to B. And the thing with Steven Seagal, there's a movie, I forget which one it is, but there's a movie that came out after this with Steven Seagal. that stole this scene where the Van Damme character is sliding from here into the building. I'm like, wow. And one movie's supposed to be Van Damme and the other's supposed to be Seagal, and I hate to break it to them, they're two different body types, even if it's stuntmen and in place. It's still going to be two different body types. They stole from a direct-to-video Jean-Claude Van Damme film for their direct-to-video Steven Seagal film. And that probably has the same rating as this, which is bullshit. 4 points is bullshit. I think this is one of Van Damme's most underrated movies. I really do enjoy it. And like I said, it's a little bit weird. I mean, he goes in to steal this Faberge egg. And I remember the first time I saw this on DVD, I got it at a blind buy because being a big Van Damme film, probably was when this film came out in 2001. Because not many Van Damme's films have gone straight to video, straight to DVD. I believe Desert Heat, I think the others had gone into theaters. Universal Soldier The Return, which I do love. I'll review that in a few days. That bombed badly. And that's where he sort of went back to, got stuck in direct-to-video land. But this was a great one. I would say this is actually my favorite straight-to-video film he did. Because I love Wake of Death, but like I said, this is old school Van Damme. But just, he's not completely just dead eyes. He's not playing a damaged character. And again, he does a good job in them, but when you see it 10 times, when he does it 9, 10 times in a row, you want a little change of pace. But I remember the first time I saw this, I was cringing. Because I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, this opening with this night thing, and takes place in the Middle Ages, at least for the first couple minutes, but okay. And then one of the first lines Van Damme has is because, again, he's a thief. He's talking with a buddy of his in a van outside, and Van Damme goes, like, guards come in, and there's some noise, and the guy, his buddy, says, "What happened? I hear noise, blah, 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 blah." And the guard goes, "What was that? Was it blah, blah, blah?" And Van Damme goes, "No, I farted." I'm like, oh my god, what the hell is this movie I'm getting into when I first saw this back in the day? But I kept with it. And it quickly redeemed itself, thankfully. Redeemed itself because Van Damme's just fighting all these guards, kicking all these guards' ass, left and right and center. Very nice. A pretty decent score by Pino Donaggio. Which, why the hell does that name sound familiar? Pino Donaggio. I'll look it up. But he kicks a bunch of guards' ass. He escapes. And again, this is why I like Van Damme in this film is he's stolen this thing, this Faberge egg, to sell to some guys. And he's trying to pick up this girl. This girl's talking about some dig. And Van Damme says something to the effect of, well, I can dig here. Yes. And she tries to ask for the phone number, and she says, fuck off, pretty much. You know, he sees his father who deals with scrolls and found this new scroll. It's a lost chapter of Fazar. And Van Damme goes, oh. And he goes to this meeting to sell this egg. And he realizes he's dealing with Russian bosses and things of that nature. And again, when someone goes, well, you find your balls stuffed in your mouth. And Van Damme goes, whoa, whoa. I just like seeing Van Damme with energy. Might not sound much, but it is a lot to me. I knew this guy sounded familiar. The guy who did the score to this did the score to The Howling, Blowout, and Hercules. I knew that sounded familiar. That name. Yeah, he did. And Tourist Trap. I haven't seen Tourist Trap, but I've heard the music. My friend Mike showed me the music. I haven't seen the film, but Tourist Trap, The Howling, which that was some good music. And yeah, Hercules, which I have fun with that music. Wow. He did the music to this. I thought he did a pretty good job. I actually really liked the music. Huh. Did not know that was the same guy. I thought it sounded familiar, that name. But he gets a phone call when he's in that meeting, and then you get more fighting. Good choreography. There's the club that he met. There's a stripper pole that he jumps and uses to hit this guy. Fighting this guy, fighting this guy. I'm not going to go through every single little bit of the fighting. He gets knocked out. He gets put in jail. He gets out. He finds out his dad disappeared. Finds out his dad go to Israel, Jerusalem. Um, they know that he's had a past, so they fuck with him. And I like Van Damme's like, this is bullshit. And the girl goes, no, this is Israel. Like I say, he meets up with Charlton Heston, who's a friend of his father. He's in it for a couple minutes to do some exposition. They get to a pretty decent car chase. Go through these. The car jumps through, I don't know, I guess a bunch of people carrying these jugs of water. Like this truck jumps through that, smashes and topples his car. Van Damme fights this guy. Some nice usage of slow-mo. No crappy editing. The only time I noticed CGI is one or two little shots at the very end of the film for an explosion, which I can forgive it because it's used only that sparingly. But during the fight, kicks the guy's ass, but Charlton Heston gets shot. And yeah, I think Van Damme does a good job acting-wise. The police grab him, like, it's not me! It's not me! Ben Cross is the asshole cop who doesn't believe him, and saying that Van Damme's full of shit, is bullshit. And I like Van Damme's line, you know why you're smelling bullshit? Because you're up to your nose in it. See, I like seeing this Van Damme. I miss this Van Damme, filled with energy, and filled with some life. Doing some old school fisticuffs. Lots of fighting. It makes sense Sheldon Lettich. Lionheart Double Impact. Of course, he did a shitty job with the hardcore, which I'll get to down the road. That's one of Van Damme's worst, but can't win them all, I guess. So they don't believe him, and they lock him in his hotel room. He repels out, finds the scroll in his father's things. He's got to get into a disguise, so he gets into a rabbi disguise. Is that why one of the reasons people hate the film is they think it's too goofy? Yeah, the movie has a sense of fun to it, but it makes sense that he'd be in this disguise if it's fucking Jerusalem. If he has this disguise in LA, or New York, or in Iowa, or in fucking Africa, or Alaska, then I would understand. But in Israel, I kind of made sense. And he wants to get his buddy to translate this scroll for him. And he did a fun foot chase. Some well done music by Pino Donaggio. I like that there's these other rabbis. They see Van Damme coming. Van Damme sees them and smiles and goes through them. And then they help him out by pushing the police back. And then she raises her hand, winds it up, and just punches one of the rabbis out. And you get some really fun action bits, just kicking the shit out of these guards. And as he's kicking these guards, I will notice there's one or two times you see a body double. I think specifically there's one where he grabs a guy, puts it right here, and then does this. I don't know why. But for the most part, I could tell it was Van Damme. Even with the stuff falling, I could tell it was him, which is nice. And to be honest, it's probably more than a lot of Seagal's flicks, to be honest. Sad to say. And I'm a fan of early Seagal. But there's some really cool stuff Van Damme does. Like I said, he does that kick where there's these two guys and he just kicks both of them at the same time. Just really looks cool. I wish I could show a clip of it. And each time he fights another guard, another piece of his disguise gets torn off. And just like, okay, he keeps going. I think that's why my friend Affy mentioned that's something that you would think of in a Jackie Chan movie. Like that kind of action mixed with humor. Which I think it was nice to see Van Damme do. Yeah, he fights a lot of these guards. And then there's this big guy, which I swear, I could be wrong, I swear that's the guy in The Quest. The big villain in The Quest. I could absolutely be wrong. But if that's not him, he remarkably looks a lot like the guy who's the villain in The Quest. There's this big guy who he accidentally pushed or knocked over. Well, I like to see where he's climbing up the stairs. There's a guard. He just takes the guard, just flips him over his head. Did you tell? I think you tell it was Van Damme who did that. But there's this big guy who tries to fight with him. Van Damme's fighting back and grabs Van Damme. Van Damme grabs his legs on his neck, and they both tip over. And then all the guards, including Sophia, get there, and Van Damme and the big guy are They stare back, and they're, you know, hey, it's okay. Like they're primping each other's clothes, and it's all fine and dandy. That's what I mean. I like this as a bit of humor in here, but I think it's fun, chuckle-worthy humor, not weird humor a la knockoff. But I thought it was fun. That's another word for this movie. It's fun. And you're damn right there's going to be a long review because it deserves some fucking defending. Because I don't understand why it's so goddamn bad. It's in Jerusalem. So what? I also like Hellbound with Chuck Norris, which is in Jerusalem. Although even I gotta admit, this has a bunch more action than Hellbound. But I actually really like Hellbound, but that's one of the things that needed more action. This does have a lot of action. I think Van Damme has some fun lines of dialogue. For example, after they're sort of pat each other, the girl goes, "You know how much trouble I'm in because of you?" And Van Damme's like, "Let's have a cup of coffee, talk about it." just pulls him away. And Ben Cross has to talk to the asshole cop again, and pretty much says, "You're out of the country." And yeah, I thought Van Damme did a good job. "You're full of shit, huh? I don't believe this. You're full of shit. Hey, what the hell's going on? You know, what about my father?" I just like, "You're full of shit." Again, energy. God forbid. I get to see Van Damme with some energy, but apparently that's a 4.6 worthy thing. So I'd rather watch a fun, fast-paced, full of action, especially for a low-budget direct-to-video film. They feel a lot of stuff in this, with Van Damme playing with some life and energy to him. And some good physical stuff to it as well. I mean, really quickly after this, he goes into the plane, and the female cop realizes that something's up, something's not right. And so she goes, you know, "Push me." And he does, so that he can escape. Drives his airport vehicle, those vehicles with the steps. And he's being chased, and he actually drives it, and the step thing that's above hits one of the wings of the plane, and you get, like, this is all done for real. This is not CGI. This is not miniatures. This was done for real. It makes this one vehicle crash, and things explode, and Van Damme's going, and the vehicle he's in barely makes it past a plane, as another truck who's chasing him is too late, gets behind the plane, and the turbine, the air, pushes the vehicle, topples it over. And again, it's done for real. Not CGI. Not fake-ass green screen shit. And then the female cop meets Van Damme and picks him up and decides to help him because she knows something's up. And I thought Sophia, she did fine. She did fine for a role. I think she did just fine. And they get to the scroll to see what his buddy translated. His buddy gets killed. The scroll gets stolen. There's a chase via a motorcycle. motorcycles going over cars and down steps. He's able to get the scroll, but Van Damme gets shot. Finds out that the whole reason is that the Order, there's this militant faction that wants to stop that scroll because the scroll says that there's this peaceful last chapter, but this militant group want war. They want a holy war. Very much they say fuck peace. And pretty much there's also this little bit with gold in there as well, because the thing has a map to it. And pretty much Van Damme and the girl sneaks into the Order. They find Van Damme's dad, and you find out that the bad guys know that they're there. There's a big bomb. Ben Cross is a bad guy as well, and he's there to get the goal, while Brian Thompson and them are going to put this big bomb under this ceremony where all these leaders are at, so it'll create another big war. And there's one little trap they go through where the ground caves in, and they get by. Van Damme even saves this one guy from the hole that's caving in. They find the gold, and pretty much fight ensues, and they escape. And Van Damme kicks some ass. He's fighting this one guy, does a helicopter kick on his ass, and the guy flies back and gets impaled. That was really cool. A helicopter kick that leads into an impaling. I'm down for that. They fight some, and they fight Brian Thompson. A little bit of sword play. Nothing a la Highlander. You're not going to see anything that you saw in Highlander, but at least you get a little bit of sword play. Stabs him, Brian Thompson, but then Brian Thompson gets back. And then Van Damme does good jump kick to fuck up Brian Thompson's day. By this time, the girl has killed Ben Cross. Her and Van Damme's dad have gotten out. Van Damme has to get the bomb, put it down the ground that caved in. But then Ben Cross is not quite dead. Is fucked with Van Damme. And what was the line of dialogue he said? Ben Cross says, "Bon voyage." And, of course, you remember what I said. Van Damme, in a previous disguise, had been a rabbi. So Van Damme goes, "Shalom!" Trips his ass. Makes Ben Cross's ass fall down to the hole to his death. Van Damme runs. And this is where you get the one or two crap CGI special effects of the explosion, where the explosion goes up and goes through the cave. So you have an explosion going through the cave, which that's crappy effect 1. Then you have a wide shot at a place in Jerusalem where you have little explosions here or there. That's crappy effect shot 2. So you get 2 little crappy effect shots, but at least it was used sparingly. I can deal with it. They're still crap, but I can still deal with it. This is a tiny thing. Hell, I said old school Van Damme. What's one of the things that happens in a lot of Van Damme films? He gets his shirt torn off. That happens here. When Ben Cross is ready to fall in the hole, he's grabbing Van Damme's shirt and tears the shirt off. Don't believe me? Look at Death Warrant, he gets his shirt torn off. Look at Double Impact and his fight with Bolo Young, he gets his shirt torn off. He has his shirt off in Kickboxer. But again, another little thing that's sort of a little old school Van Damme type of thing. And Van Damme is with the girl now, and his father's talking about another place called City of Gold. And she goes, "Oh, hey, what, business or pleasure?" And Van Damme goes, "Pleasure, always." And you get some little fun before the end credits. And then for about less than a minute, you get kind of outtakes. Another thing you would see in a Jackie Chan movie. We get a little bit of outtakes. A little bit of outtakes, a little bit of sort of montage of what you've already seen. Like a little bit of montage of some of the kicks and action beats that Van Damme did throughout the film. And again, it's a little bit of outtakes. So I think just to show that, hey, this is meant for fun. This is meant for entertainment. Just have fun. Get the stick out of your ass. And again, really do like some of the music in this by Pino Donaggio, especially in the second half of the end credits, and also during the foot chase. I really like the score during the foot chase. I don't know if that score is anywhere to be found for this film, but I think this is a really underrated movie. That's why I talked about it for 30 minutes, because I think this film deserves a lot more than it's gotten. I really do. I don't think it's that fucking bad. Not at all. I think it's a film that deserves higher than a 4.6. It's a fun, entertaining, straightforward, old school Van Damme movie. It's the last time we got to see old school Jean-Claude Van Damme. I did not see it in Expendables 2. There wasn't enough Van Damme. Van Damme was the best part of that movie. He was only on 2 scenes that were worth the shit. He kills a guy, kicking a knife, which that was cool, and when he fights Stallone, which it was too one-sided, Van Damme got his ass kicked too much. It was cool to see a helicopter kick one last time, because for all I know, it could be the last time. Other than that, it's like little shit about plutonium or uranium or whatever the fuck it was. I think uranium. Little dialogue, little dialogue, little dialogue. Really, he had 2 actual scenes. One when we first see him and one when he dies. I'd rather watch this. Fast-paced, tons of action, different kinds of action. You get fisticuffs, you get car chases, you get motorcycle chase. I'm curious how they got Sheldon Heston. I know he's passed away, but I'm curious, like, how did they get Sheldon Heston? He's only here for a couple minutes, but it's cool to see him. I didn't realize Avi Lerner is actually one of the producers, because this is a Millennium film production. But yeah, I really enjoy this film. Love it. I think it's the best direct-to-video film Van Damme's done, or it's my favorite. White of Death is up there, but this is the last time we saw old school Van Damme, and that's why I enjoy it, especially watching it again after so many years. But thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.